Bennett Saunders, and I'm doing a demonstration on how to prune boxwood. A lot of people, we get questions all the time about how to prune boxwood, when to prune boxwood, and I'm going to try to go over some basics today of how to do this. So the first thing I might say is because of boxwood diseases and some issues, the first thing that I would say is you need to have some pruners that are not used in your neighbor's garden or in other gardens. You should have equipment in your garden that only you use and nobody else uses. Another thing that you should have is some way to sanitize your equipment. Maybe not every plant, but certainly every day, probably when you finish a garden, so that if there are diseases in one area that you don't spread those diseases to another area. So I have alcohol in this spray can, and so before I start, I'm going to spray my clippers with this alcohol solution. Another thing we should be thinking about is timing on pruning. You may notice that the grass is green, and right now it is May. May is a little bit late. We like to prune our boxwood in late February or early March. That is by far the best time. We like to do it before the new growth comes out. This particular garden is my own garden, and these plants were just planted last year. The plants are just now really acclimating. Usually we try to show the natural shape of the plant. This particular plant is a New Gen Freedom, which is sort of an upright grower. If you can see this plant here, it grows a little bit taller than it is fat. And so we like to kind of keep the natural shape of the plant. So when I prune it, I'm just going to get all this crazy hairs out of the way. So it's very simple. These are not maybe as sharp as I'd like to have them, and you just go around the plant and you take off that extra growth that's so it really doesn't take very long. We do recommend pruning almost all boxwood at least once a year. In the early spring is by far the best time, but a minimum of once a year. And some of them you might get a second time. One of the things, most of the boxwood diseases would spread with pruners in the summertime. So again, that February and March date is by far the best. I got the basic shape that I want. Just a little bit of touch up here. This thing is starting to look good. I go around the bottom. Sometimes I turn my pruners around and do like this. And so that plant is pretty well done. Maybe it's a little bit fat right here that I want to clean that up. So that plant is done. You know, my favorite time to prune is before I mulch. We like to mulch our plants, and if you prune it before you mulch, then you don't have to clean up the mess. So, because the mulch covers the mess. But so here you have a pruned New Gen Freedom. It's ready to go into the summer and grow and flush out, and a beautiful plant. So thank you.